Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Mel from MelDidItHerself, and I'm a social service worker turned furniture refinisher, DIYer, small business owner, and content creator. I've learned everything I know about these industries thanks to people who shared their knowledge on the internet. So I'm paying it forward by bringing you my tips, lessons learned, and sharing my journey in this space with you. So thank you so much for being here, being curious, and being a lifelong learner like me. Let's hop into it. What is up, my friends and fellow busybees? I hope you've had a great week since I last checked in with you. I started my week off on a very exciting note, actually. I had my first real large audience media appearance, which was super fun, and I was really grateful for. I was interviewed by CBC Canada Radio and got to go into their studio and be featured by Hallie and the team, and I've since spoken to another producer, actually, who's going to be doing a video segment on CBC TV on their Our Ottawa program this coming Saturday. So it's all been very exciting. It's like the smaller things like this that really help to get me and my brand and my business out there and that are really validating and just keep me inspired to keep creating and doing what I'm doing. There can be times where things feel like they're semi-stagnant or like the growth isn't there as much as I would hope it would be. But then opportunities like this come along in those times when I'm feeling like that, and it just reiterated that I'm on the right path and that doing the things that I love and just sticking to that and being consistent will eventually yield results. So I will link that interview in the show notes of this episode if anyone is interested in checking it out, but I just wanted to mention it here for anyone who's feeling similarly and like things aren't really going to plan or you're not growing as quick as you had hoped you would be. Just keep persevering and seeking out those opportunities because eventually you will get a yes, and you never know what will come from those opportunities or who will hear you and who will reach out as a result and what amazing projects can come from that. So for today's episode, I wanted to get to this idea a little bit ahead of when I would maybe typically air it when it would make sense to do so, which would be closer to the holidays. But I know that some of you, and I mean only some of you, not all of you, because I know you're my people, and if you're my people, you wouldn't be planning this far in advance. But I know that some of you are already starting your holiday shopping and getting ideas together, so I wanted to get the bug in your ear sooner than later. If there are any furniture painters or refinishers in your life, or if you are one yourself and you're looking to compile a holiday wish list. If that's the case, I hope that this episode can be of use because we are going to be talking about the ultimate wish list for the holidays for the furniture painter and refinisher. I wanted this list to have some different ideas at different price ranges depending on who you're buying for or who you're asking for a gift from. And, you can decide what amount you feel comfortable requesting from someone to pay. But also keep in mind that if the price tags are on the higher side, that's something that your siblings or group of your friends or whoever could come together to purchase. Or if you're buying for somebody else, you could go in on a gift with some other people as well. So keep that in mind. But I basically wanted to compile a list of items that I know are things that aren't exactly necessities and you could get by without them and still accomplish great furniture makeovers, but they are things that are nice to have and somebody would likely, I'm assuming at least, appreciate receiving. Things that may not feel like they're need to haves, so they might not invest in these products themselves, but would get great use out of them if they happen to show up in their lap. So that was the mentality I had as I was putting together the items on this list. And I have quite a few products on this list, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about each one in detail. But if you do have any specific questions about them, always feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at MelDidItHerself or send me an email. It's mel@meldiditherself.ca. Super easy to remember. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have. I will also be linking all of these items in the show notes of this episode. The links that I put in the show notes are often, or sometimes at least, affiliate links, and any ones that are indicated with an asterisk, like a little star. But just know that that means that when you use those links, you're helping to support my business, as I get a little tiny commission from every sale, but it is at no extra cost to you, and in some cases you're saving money by using them. So in advance, if anyone chooses to buy through those links, I very very much appreciate it and your support for me and my business. But regardless, you're here supporting me by listening to this podcast. So thank you very much for that as well. And a little sneak peek for next week's podcast episode. In my Friday Furniture Focus newsletter I sent out last week, I had mentioned that I was setting aside some time to do some goal planning for next year. I know, I'm already setting goals for 2023 and it's not even the end of November, but that's kind of the point. The sooner you do it, the sooner you start thinking about these things and working towards implementing them and taking action on them. So I like to start early. But I had mentioned in the newsletter that if anyone wanted to hear my approach to goal setting and planning for the new year, to reach out, and I heard from so many of you, so I'm actually going to do a 2-part episode series next week and then the following week on goal setting and how I go about it and kind of some of my goals for the new year and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. And if you weren't already aware of the Friday Furniture Focus newsletter, it's a weekly newsletter that I send out that gives updates on any projects that I have ongoing, shares furniture facts, which are different tidbits about the furniture that you're making over, or a furniture fix, which is a hack or a tip for saving time and effort doing your furniture flips. And every week I feature a new furniture painter or refinisher and do a Q&A to get to know them, their pieces, and their business better. So if you're interested in receiving this, you can head to my website, MelDidItHerself.ca, to sign up and then keep an eye on your inbox. So let's hop into the first choice for the holiday gift guide for the furniture painter and refinisher in your life. A carbide scraper and contour scraper set. These were some of my favorite tools to discover this year because they help you to remove the finish off of your furniture pieces by scraping it off instead of having to use paint stripper and then scraping it off or sanding it off with an electric sander or worse, hand sanding. It ultimately saves you more time and money, although it doesn't always save the amount of effort, I'll admit, because depending on the finish you're working with, you might work up a bit of a sweat or get a good arm workout in. But for me, it has quickly become my preferred method for removing old finishes off of my furniture flips, and I would recommend them for anyone doing this kind of work. The contour scraper sets do the same thing, except that they have different blades with different lengths and shapes, so you can really get into the grooves and details of the pieces that are a little bit more ornate. Very helpful. Next up is an inexpensive and smaller item, which would make for a great stocking stuffer. Painting pyramids. I think I may have mentioned this on a previous episode of the podcast as a way to make your furniture makeovers easier, but this is such a straightforward product. They're literally plastic pyramids, and you get a pack of them and just use them to elevate your pieces off of the workshop or garage floor when you're working on them. They're really structurally sound, so they can elevate pieces that are up to 200 pounds, and although you can put other items underneath the piece to get it up off of the ground instead, I used to use things like leftover paint cans, but depending how big the piece is, it might then be too high up to work on, or be difficult to elevate the piece high enough to get the cans under there in the first place if you're a one-man or woman show. So this is a great item to have handy that makes things much easier, and they just stack up into each other for compact storage when you don't need them. The next item is a Craig hardware jig, which is the other great tool discovery I had this year. Personally, there is nothing that makes me procrastinate more during a furniture makeover as when I know I need to do the measurement and math to drill holes for new hardware that I'm putting on a piece. Don't ask me why, I just always classify it as being a pain in the ass in my brain, and I'm always paranoid that I won't line them up correctly or do the math right or whatever, so I would just always put it off, which was unideal when you're trying to get pieces finished and out of the workshop. Then my buddy Chris, shout out to Broken Oak Restoration in South Carolina, mentioned this Craig hardware jig, and it absolutely fucking changed my life because I had never thought about the prospect of there being a tool to help with this, which obviously there is. So it basically just acts as a guide that you can set up for how high or low you want the holes to sit on the drawer face or whatever it is that you're going to be putting new hardware on. And then you just adjust the spacing of the holes to correspond with the hardware that you're going to be using, mark the spots, and then you can drill as per usual. Highly recommend. Next up is more of a general recommendation, but a great idea is to invest in some new, high quality paintbrushes for them if you know that they like to paint their pieces by hand. This is something I often won't splurge on myself because I know I have tried and true brushes that work for me for the time being. But I am always so appreciative when I'm gifted them because I love discovering new favorites and trying out different brands and different shapes for different uses on furniture pieces. I will link some of my favorites in the show notes if you want to take a peek at them. And if you haven't listened to it yet, episode 18 was Paintbrushes 101 for furniture makeovers and my favorites. So you can hear more specifics on the various types I recommend having in your toolkit and some that I've been loving lately over there. This next item is one of those big ticket items I was mentioning, but it's something that I've used for over a year now and has performed so wonderfully and saved me a ton of time and effort when sanding my furniture pieces, and that is a Surf Prep sanding system. The one I have was actually a gift to me from my husband, and let me tell you, it is an amazing gift for a furniture painter or refinisher. I was literally so shocked when he gave it to me that he thought that it wasn't a good gift at first because I simply had no words. And it's something that I probably wouldn't have ended up getting myself because I would have found a way to not justify it, but holy shit, it has been so helpful to have. But again, it isn't inexpensive, so this is something that would be great to have a bunch of people chip in on. I have the 3x4 electric ray sanding system, and I love it because it has different power levels that you can control. I can hook it up to my shop vac so it sucks up any dust that the sander makes so my workshop isn't riddled with dust. And they have sanding sponges on top of their regular sanding pads or sandpapers that are amazing to sand or scuff sand intricate details and rounded edges on your pieces without sanding them down or sanding them straight off. The size of the sander itself also helps you to get into those hard to reach kind of corners and areas of your piece that round orbital sanders just can't really reach, so that's great as well. I also have an affiliate code with Surf Prep, so if you do want to use my link in the show notes, you can save 10% off with the Surf Prep promo code MDIH10. So that's Mel did it herself and then the number 10. Another smaller item that would make a great stocking stuffer or something similar, because I'm not sure you could actually fit it into a stocking, is a coffee table book that I got called The Furniture Bible. Actually, this was a gift from my husband too. He's a pretty good gift giver, not gonna lie. But not only is it a beautiful looking hardcover coffee table book that looks great as decor and is great for staging your furniture flips with, hot tip, but it's such an amazing resource for furniture refinishers. The author is Christophe Pourny, and the tagline reads, "Everything you need to know to identify, restore, and care for furniture." Enough said, am I right? I learned about different furniture from different eras and how to identify it, how to identify different wood species in my pieces, or start to. I'm definitely not all the way there yet. Different types of joinery, different types of products and how to use them and when it's recommended to choose them, and so much more. The title, The Furniture Bible, is painfully and wonderfully accurate, and if you know someone who does this work that doesn't yet own this book, it is an absolute must-buy. And if you or the person you're buying for are wearing cheap protective eyewear that they had sitting around for years and is functional but maybe not all that comfortable or has scratches on it that they're just kind of squinting through, a great upgrade you can provide them with is some new protective eyewear. And because I'm a basic bitch, of course, I have to recommend finding something stylish-ish while you're at it. Stylish-ish because there's only so much you can do when you're trying to essentially wear goggles, you know what I mean? The ones that I have are gold-rimmed aviator-style protective safety glasses, and I think they're pretty cute, all things considered. So I would definitely recommend them. They've held up great over the years against scratches and breaking when I inevitably knock them off the workbench time and time again when I'm not using them, which is great. I've also recently discovered Stoggles, which have lots of different styles of stylish protective eyewear as well. And I actually just checked their Instagram and they're having a 50% off Black Friday sale too. So it might be worth checking out. I haven't tried them myself, but I've seen other refinishers I trust the opinion of rave about them, so they're probably great. Another gift you could give a furniture painter or a refinisher in your life is something more sentimental. Think something like a wood painted sign or a neon sign or something like that with their business name or Instagram account name or something like that. I have a friend who had started an in-home bakery business and made cakes and stuff for clients, and I ordered a sign that had her name plus bake shop on it, and it was cute and fit the theme, and she really liked it. And I know I'd love something like this to hang with pride in the workshop as well, so I thought this would be something super cute to add to the list. It's just a way to show your support for their business and their entrepreneurial endeavors, and it's something they likely don't already have. Another option would be to have maybe a sweater or a t-shirt custom printed with their business name, or maybe having their branding, like their sign or whatever on it, or even having it printed onto an apron if they wear one typically when out in the workshop. There's lots of options for getting something like this made on Etsy or other similar retailers, so I won't link any specifically because I can't say whether or not the business themselves do the service well, but just do some research and you'll come across tons. And if all else fails and you're completely lost for what to get the painter or refinisher in your life or what to ask for from others, I'm totally not too proud to just ask for a gift card. Some people think it feels too impersonal or weird to just kind of like essentially ask for money. I am not those people. Especially if you can find out who their local retailer or stockist is that they often order from. What a great way to show you care and have done your research while also supporting the local retailer and putting money into them and their business too. Total double whammy. If you have no idea how to sneakily find out which retailer they typically order from, you can sneak a peek at their paint stash or other products and see what brand they often use. If it's something like Fusion Mineral Paint, for example, go onto their website, click Find a Retailer, and input your town, and most paint companies or other retailers will show all of the different stockists that sell their products near you. And something you may not know about me, I love little motivational messages. They always get me fired up, and I keep a running list of ones that are especially catchy or speak to me in the Notes app on my phone. So I end every podcast episode with one of those that I've noted down over the years in hopes that you leave our time here each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to take on whatever comes your way this week. You never know, your first media appearance might be right around the corner. So this week's Mel's motivational message is: humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. I thought this was applicable in the spirit of gift giving because that's an opportunity for you to step back and really think about somebody else and how you can get them something that's a personalized gift that they'll really cherish, whether it's sentimental or just really useful. It shows that you really took the time to think about them and their interests and their needs and desires and kind of think that through and what would be something that would be helpful to them or something that would be a splurge for them that they may not otherwise get for themselves or their business. So think of yourself less and think of those opportunities when you can really bring that into your life and really sit back and think about that. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So it's putting others first and being, kind and humble in that way. But it doesn't mean you have to think less of yourself. You don't need to put yourself down to support other people or to lift others up. I had a whole episode at one point early on in this podcast about community over competition, because I truly think everybody wins when we just work to lift each other up and help each other rise, and that is that humility. It's not saying, I'm not doing a good job and I'm so much worse, look at how good they're doing. It's saying they're doing a great job and so am I, but let's look at how great they're doing and let's recognize them and let's support them and motivate them. That's why I do what I do, because I want you all to be your best selves as I also try to be my best self. And that's not me just trying to be here like a humble brag, like I'm so humble and I have so much humility in my life, but you know what I'm saying? I think it's so useful and it's such a positive thing that we can bring into this world to do that if we all just collectively do that and try and raise each other up and help each other out and not have that kind of dog-eat-dog mentality, and also not put ourselves down in the process of doing so, because you're fucking awesome if you haven't noticed lately, and you deserve to have all the confidence in the world. As do I. So collectively, let's stop thinking less of ourselves and just think of ourselves less. Because we're too busy thinking about others and the good things that we can do for them and the ways that we can rise each other up together. And if you're enjoying the podcast so far, I would love it if you'd go to the podcast page on whatever platform you're listening on today and leave me a rating. It's out of 5 stars. You know I'd always prefer you click all 5, but I'll leave that part up to you. And if you have the time, leaving a quick review letting me know why you love the podcast and tune in every Thursday for more would be so appreciated, because that helps others to find this podcast who are looking for that support, looking for that guidance, and looking to tackle their first furniture makeover. And they can join us on this furniture refinishing ride. All right, that's it for now. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you guys next week.